he fastened the stones to his hands. As he stepped onto the skateboard, he began a thrilling downhill ride. He spread his arms wide, becoming one with the stunning landscape. His guarded heart slowly opened up as he sped down the hill, feeling the rush of freedom. At this moment, he truly broke free from life's chains and saw breathtaking landscapes never seen before. His profound gaze spoke volumes. Where there are dreams in the heart, nothing remains beyond reach. Yet just days before, Walter was an ordinary man lost in daydreams. Now he dares to leap into the ocean and hike alone through nature's breathtaking wonders. What led to such a dramatic change in him? It all began with the photographer's handwritten letter. The letter stressed that -25 was his greatest work, yet minus what he called the essence of life itself. It was meant for Life magazine's final cover, but when they developed the film, -25 was nowhere to be found. The missing negative changed Walter's fate forever. Walter was a timid clerk who spent his days developing photos in the cold, dim archive. For 16 years he did the same job. His paycheck barely covered the basics. Like most, he meticulously managed every expense to make ends meet. His timid nature and empty pockets left him to shy pursue love. At 42, he was still single and had never dated anyone, not even the co-worker he secretly liked at their company. They crossed paths daily, yet he never managed a simple hello. Then he overheard Cheryl was divorced and on a top dating site. He immediately signed up on the same dating website. He discovered her interests and was especially taken by her three-legged doll. After days of inner struggle, he gathered his courage and sent a message to Cheryl. But the message mysteriously failed to send. The website support explained his profile had too many blank sections causing the issue, such as fascinating places he visited or meaningful experiences he had. Walter pondered deeply during the agent's questions. Just then, Walter heard a dog bark. Walt suddenly stood up, sprinted forward and leapt toward the nearby building. He even rescued Cheryl's three-legged dog during the daring act. Cheryl was very grateful for his rescue. He crafted a prosthetic leg for the pup while descending. Cheryl was deeply impressed by his actions. Walter kept his cool and said, "My motto in life is to love adventure, be brave, and embrace creativity." But when he snapped back to reality, he realized all those heroic deeds were merely a daydream. No explosion, no dog, no Cheryl, just stark reality. All he got was a missed bus thanks to his daydream. Walter raced to work, only to learn the magazine had been bought out. The new boss is axing all print media. After 16 years at Life magazine, he must now adapt to its digital transformation. The company is preparing for large-scale layoffs. The interim manager Ted Hendricks soothes arrogance. "Sorry, had my earbuds in." Hendricks interrupts Walter's earnest explanation. Walter snaps back without hesitation. The elevator erupts with colleagues' laughter. But this triumphant moment exists only in his imagination. In reality, he obediently repeated himself while zoning out, only to be mocked by the bearded Hendricks. As Cheryl talks about her broken fridge, Walter's mind transports him to an Arctic landscape, bursting through ice walls. Becoming a daring world explorer, he boldly introduced himself to her. While he was confidently flirting with the goddess, the bearded man gave him another malicious glare. He yelled out "Major Tongue" at him, a reference to the song Space Oddity. When Walter didn't respond, he flicked a paperclip at him. The hit snapped Walter out of his daydream. Cheryl caught sight of the entire scene. Walter made his way back to the familiar damp basement as usual, developing film negatives from photographers around the world. It was tedious work, but he loved it. Not a single negative he processed ever had an error. Digital meant no more film processing and no more need for it. Life magazine received the last batch of negatives, all from photographer Sean O'Connell. Sean sent Walter a handwritten note thanking him for his meticulous work. For 16 years working together, Walter never made an error and always perfected Sean's photos with utmost authenticity. He also sent a wallet bearing the company motto. For years, every employee had worked toward this goal. To his utter shock, the -25, which was Sean's final cover, had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Sales demanded Walter bring -25 right away. When Ted Hendricks demanded he show -25, Walter lied it was still in development. After dodging his boss, he rushed to continue his search. After the meeting, he mustered courage to greet Cheryl. Since Cheryl handled photographers' negatives, Walter hoped she had Sean's contact. Cheryl told him Sean was a drifter with no phone or friends, mailing his packages from different places each time. Cheryl gladly offered to assist Walter, hinting that Sean's payroll colleague might hold some useful clues. As they talked, a colleague came over with 3 developed photos. Perhaps these photos could hold some clues. Walter brought the photos to the company fountain and meticulously studied each one, using his custom magnifying glass, a ritual he perfected over years. Cheryl was curious about -25 too. She learned the clue might be hidden in these 3 pictures. One showed a random thumb, another dark water, and the last just a mysterious fragment. Cheryl gave her take on what they might mean. Walter grew nervous being so close to his crush. Cheryl felt slightly awkward and hastily excused herself to leave. Cheryl had barely taken 2 steps when Walter called her back to proudly present his masterpiece. But it was all just Walter's fantasy. His daydream ended when she said goodbye. Walter got a call from his mom right after the goddess left. Mother is stressed about the move. Father's old piano is too large for their new home. Walter spent a fortune renting a large villa just to keep the piano. After sorting the rental, his sister gave Walter a Stretch Armstrong. It was his favorite toy in childhood. While packing, his sister dug up an old travel bag. Inside the bag, Walter found his father's gift, a travel journal that remained untouched all these years. Back in the day, he was a rebel with a stylish mohawk and the town's state champ. After Dad's death, Walter stepped up to support his family. The once passionate young man has now become a mediocre middle-aged nobody. While Walter was silently lamenting his life, his colleague spotted a new clue. The photo showed letters on the water. Walter guessed it was a boat's name reflected. Cheryl offered to trace the boat, but then remembered she had to pick up her son. She asked Walter to come along, and he jumped at the chance. As Cheryl called Sean for clues, Walter showed off his skateboarding skills to her son. Though he hadn't skated in years, his childhood training kept him remarkably skilled on the board. He kept peeking to see if Cheryl was watching his moves. Somehow, she always missed his best tricks. Her son, however, was utterly amazed by his skills. A colleague mentioned they had sent Sean to checks recently. One check was sent to nearby Princeton. The other went to Greenland. A search revealed the ship originated from Greenland. He had never left his province, let alone gone abroad. The journey might cost him most of his life savings. As he wrestled with this dilemma, Cheryl's ex called. As Cheryl walked away, Walter drifted into another daydream. He imagined Cheryl falling into his arms, their love story unfolding like Benjamin Buttons, heading to a magical heartfelt end. Cheryl's voice finally snapped Walter out of his trance. He expected Cheryl to mock his daydreaming. To his surprise, Cheryl encouraged him instead, saying Ted Hendricks' nonsense about Major Tom was utterly ridiculous. This song celebrates courage and venturing into the unknown, a truly brilliant and cool musical piece. Her words filled him with courage. Back at work, he ran into Ted Hendricks again. The bearded man insisted firmly, "Next time, you must bring me -25. A colleague cut in sharply. Sean never sent the package at all. Walter eyed Sean's photo skeptically. The photo of Sean suddenly came to life, waving at Walter and urging him to come closer. This time Walter chose to act bravely rather than daydream. Walter began his quest to find Sean. As he set out, the company motto started popping up everywhere. Venture into the world and confront its perils. Break all limits and bring us closer together. Find one another. Experience everything. That is the true essence of living. The landing plane's view gave Walter new clarity. Soon he reached a tiny terminal smaller than the plane. He made a beeline for a local bar and asked the owner about the ship in the photo. He learned they airdrop mail to that ship every Tuesday. Before he could get more details, a drunken man with a broken heart grabbed Walter and poked his face. Fed up with the poking, Walter started scuffling with the drunk. As the fight was getting out of hand, Walter noticed the thumb in Sean's photo. They cooled off and sat down to talk. The drunk was the pilot who delivered mail to the ship weekly. He'd flown Sean to the ship just days before. That was when Sean took the photo of his thumb. The drunk would deliver radio parts in 5 minutes. He wanted Walter to come along. Outside, a storm was brewing. Inside, the drunk's bleary eyes met his. Walter hesitated, thinking better of risking his life. The drunk took a final swig and stumbled toward the helicopter without pressing further. Walter resumed daydreaming as the drunk left. In his dream, Cheryl appeared with a guitar, singing Space Oddity, a song of courage and adventure. Guided by the dreamlike melody, Walter stood up and began walking outward step by step. Moved by Cheryl's song and her encouraging eyes, Walter gathered his courage and jumped onto the rising helicopter. Under Cheryl's watchful gaze, they gradually faded into the distant sea. He watched the sea blend into the sky. Walter was amazed by his own bravery just then. The pilot swiftly guided them close to the ship. The boat was tossed by raging waves, nearly capsizing. Worse still, the ship was too small for a helicopter landing. The drunk told Walter to jump ship with parts. Against all odds, he jumped without hesitation. To his shock, he had misheard and leapt in the wrong direction. He plunged into the icy depths below. He was meant to jump to the other life raft. Before he could react, a shark was swiftly closing in on him. The old captain was thrilled. The crew barely restrained him from jumping into hell. Walter had to grab his case and fight back. The life raft he was to board rescued him. He rubbed the sailor's face, confirming this was all real minus no daydream anymore. Walter was exhilarated by the shark fight. His excitement was short minus lived when he learned Sean had left for Iceland 4 hours earlier. He'd left a cake in the fridge before departing. A sailor handed Walter the leftover cake. Walter was amazed to find the cake tasted just like his mother's homemade ones. Then he spotted writing on the cake wrap. Sean's upcoming travel schedule was there. Tomorrow is the only chance, and his goal is a volcano in Iceland. Walter had accidentally dropped the radio parts into the sea. The ship would dock in Iceland tomorrow for parts. Walter's mishap brought him luck to Iceland by ship. As he got off the ship, someone warned him to hurry. The dock workers would race to claim the only bike on shore. Walter took off like a shot when he heard the news. He managed to grab the bike just in time. He set off in Sean's direction. A small riverside house gazed at the bay, looking as troubled as Walter felt. Iceland's lush green peaks seemed like a fairy tale. Walter got a dating site's upward call on his way to the volcano. He told him about fighting a shark barehanded. Now he's biking toward the volcano. Lost in thought, he crashed straight into a roadside sign. Angrily, he threw the broken bike. No bike, then he would run all the way. He forded raging rivers and scaled sheer cliffs. After running for a while, he finally saw a few people. He tried asking kids directions. The language barrier made communication impossible. Noticing the kid's cool skateboard, Walter figured Cheryl's son would love it. He offered his Stretch Armstrong toy in exchange. To his amazement, the trade succeeded perfectly. Walter then walked into a hotel. The innkeeper was busy packing his luggage at the back door. Luckily, the owner knew Sean. He'd even arranged a plane for him an hour earlier. Time was nearly up for them all. Walter ran off frantically, ignoring the owner's desperate calls. In an instant, Walter found himself facing a winding mountain road. But this time, he threw caution to the wind and made a gutsy choice. He picked up two roadside rocks. He tied the rocks to his hands with his torn tongue. No force could halt a man gone mad. And so Walter coasted down to the village below. The entire town was strangely empty. Then a piercing alarm shattered the silence. Right then, the innkeeper came speeding after him. The owner had tried to warn him minus the volcano was erupting. He took off before the owner could finish. Concerned for his well-minus being, the kind minus-hearted owner drove after him in the car. At that instant, Sean's plane flew right overhead. Perched on the plane, he photographed the erupting volcano. As thick volcanic ash clouds approached, Walter quickly got into the kind owner-esque car. They barely made it out before the thick smoke engulfed them. The owner drove him to a Papa John's. This chain store was where he had worked his very first job. The familiar scene brought back memories of his late father and the dark years after his death. Feeling the need to share his thoughts, he decided to give Cheryl a call. He shared recent adventures and childhood stories, vowing to confess his feelings upon returning. He recalled hesitating even to send a simple emoji online. Walter had changed without even noticing it himself. He opened his heart and took the lead in their relationship. His Nordic trip rekindled his youthful passion. His already thin wallet was now empty. As soon as he hung up, a frantic text arrived from his coworker: bring back -25 immediately, or we're both getting fired on the spot. Walter had no choice but to return to the office. Walter ran into the bearded man at work. Hand over -25th? Now, Ted demanded. Walter pleaded for a few more days' time. Not only was his plea rejected, but he got fired on the spot. To make matters worse, Cheryl had also lost her job. He wanted to cheer her up by giving her son a skateboard. Unexpectedly, a man was the one who answered. Walter lied, saying he was a co-worker with business. The moment Walter heard the man call her baby, he sensed something was wrong. Walter left the skateboard and slipped away quietly. Walter was crushed minus rejected at work and in love. After his thrilling Nordic adventure, real life was still a tangled mess of troubles. The wallet's slogan now felt like fate mocking him. He immediately threw the wallet away when he got home. Then he sat on the couch examining the third mysterious photo. He suddenly noticed the grand piano before him. The piano's corner matched the photo perfectly, minus even the damage was identical. His mother told him Sean O'Connell had visited a week ago. His mother had taken that photo with Sean's camera. Sean told her his photography plans. First Iceland's volcanoes, then Afghanistan's Himalayas to shoot snow leopards. He took some cakes his mother baked before leaving. He intended to bribe the warlord with cakes. That was the moment Walter realized. No wonder the ship food in Iceland tasted like mom's. Everything made sense now, but none of it mattered. He confessed that losing Sean's vital cover photo was his fault, and it cost him his job at the company. Now there's no need to search for Sean or that photo anymore. But his mother softly said, "You're Sean's most trusted partner. Even without the job, you should complete his final project properly." His mother's words gave Walter new strength. To honor their faith in him, Walter grabbed his dusty old backpack and headed straight for Afghanistan. He started keeping his first ever travel journal, recording everything along the way. He hired two mountain guides for his Himalayan ascent. He was seeing a whole new world. He received the mountain blessing from locals before climbing. He saw a massive waterfall tumbling down the cliffs. He met a legendary warlord on the road. His mother's homemade cake helped smooth his past. Pristine snow, rushing rivers minus nature at its most magnificent. And there he was minus walking across sunlit peaks where he never belonged. He crossed a majestic mountain range. At 18,000 feet, Walter realized humanity's insignificance for the first time. Upon arriving at a sacred totem site, his two assistants indicated he must go on alone from that point. Walter began his lone journey atop the world. Snow-covered peaks shimmered in the sunlight. The grand mountains were nature's masterpiece. His red jacket mirrored his fiery spirit bright and unforgettable. His search for Sean became a journey of self-discovery. Crossing a ridge, he got another call from the dating site. They cheered his profile completion. His unique journey has made him quite popular. Sadly, Cheryl had already closed her account. Walter had made peace with this reality. He asked customer service to close his account. Suddenly a voice spoke right next to his ear. He turned and gasped it was Sean, the man he'd been searching for. He revealed his true identity to Sean. He then inquired about the -25 photograph. Sean looked surprised. "It's in your wallet," he said. The negative was Sean's real gift to Walter. The wallet was just the package. Walter was shocked. He'd already lost the wallet. Sean was heartbroken to hear the news as he thought that photograph was truly beautiful. Walter pressed for details, but Sean motioned to the camera. The snow leopard he waited for appeared, yet he never pressed the shutter button. "Why aren't you taking the picture?" Walter urged. Sean said he doesn't take photos just to take them. "When I adore a moment, I don't photograph it, I immerse myself in it completely." The snow leopard fled. Content with his shots, Sean set aside his camera to join the locals playing soccer downhill. Walter still wondered about that photo. Sean just smiled without answer. Letting go of his curiosity about the photo, Walter joined Sean in the soccer game. Walter felt the joy of freedom in Afghanistan. Back in New York, he found himself detained. With Afghanistan at war, all returnees faced thorough security checks. He needed someone to verify his identity for release. He instantly knew who could help the dating site rep he'd been speaking with. The rep picked him up and they talked over a meal. The rep said Cheryl never replied to anyone from sign-up to cancellation. Clearly a woman with very high standards. He then asked Walter about his daydreaming problem. Walter noticed he had been daydreaming less often these days. To afford his living costs, Walter was forced to sell his father's piano. After appraising the piano, the dealer gave Walter a check. Mom told him to keep the check in his wallet. Mother then took out the wallet he had discarded from her bag. She kept Walter's discarded items for years. Walter was amazed to find his lost wallet again. This meant -25 had been located. Walter took the negative straight to Ted Hendricks without checking it first. Though no longer employed there, he asked Ted if he knew the company motto. Ted fumbled for an answer but couldn't recall it. Walter remarked, "I know you had to let go of loyal staff who upheld our values, but you didn't have to be such a jerk in doing so." Ted had nothing to say back. This wasn't just another Walter midi daydream. For once, he spoke his mind without hesitation. He finally did what he feared to do. After that, he started job hunting in earnest. His resume was no longer empty it was now full of adventure. He also got a video message from Cheryl's son. The little guy has mastered kickful pests like a pro now. While picking up his severance check, Walter happened to see Cheryl. This time he approached her instead of watching from a distance. Cheryl asked, puzzled, why he vanished suddenly. Walter told her about the skateboard incident. It was just a misunderstanding. Her ex-husband came back that day just to fix the broken refrigerator. With nothing holding him back, Walter asked Cheryl outright that. Walking and talking, they passed a newsstand. Cheryl was curious about the final issue's cover. The cover featured the dedication to this magazine's creator, showcasing what Sean deemed his finest photographic masterpiece. The cover showed Walter, a devoted 16-year-old IFE magazine veteran, sitting by the office fountain, in deep concentration. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a 2013 adventure film starring and directed by Ben Stiller. Walter is a daydreamer. In his vivid daydreams, he becomes invincible, boldly standing up to bullies, or swooping in like a superhero to impress the one he secretly admires. In reality, he is just a coward who dares nothing and faces constant mockery for his daydreaming. He has never been anywhere or done anything special. He reached middle age, yet remained all alone. He's never dared to ask out his crush. Yet this utterly unremarkable ordinary man, for work, he bravely embarked on an adventure he'd never dreamed possible. The journey helped him break through his limits. He grew from a daydreamer into a true dream achiever. He found the courage to speak his mind, to confess his feelings. He boldly faces an uncertain future. No longer hesitant, his eyes burned with determination. Truth is, most of us are daydreamers. Never been anywhere remarkable. Never did anything noteworthy. We yearn for breakthroughs each day, yet fall back into the same monotonous routine time and again. We always find excuses to convince ourselves we're not qualified or ready for change. The truth is, the only thing holding us back is ourselves. Change does take tremendous courage, but once we dare to take that first step, we realize the difficulties we imagined were merely mental barriers we set for ourselves. Even when change seems impossible, the journey itself makes life extraordinary. That concludes today's film discussion. Feel free to like, comment, and share. Looking forward to seeing you again next time.